And welcome back to American Morning. There's a new U.S. intelligence report out saying that al-Qaeda is as strong as it's been in years. So we're talking about whether or not the fight against international terrorists has been as successful as we'd hoped, or whether some are chalking it up as a failure at this point. Today we're going to hear from the Bush administration about the progress in the Iraq government as well, and whether key political and military benchmarks have been met. So what will it mean for the Iraq debate in Congress? Joining us to talk about all of this, Jane Hamsher. She is the founder of the blog site, it's firedoglake.com. Also, Robert Bluey of the Heritage Foundation, he also contributes to a blog called Bluey Blog at robertbluey.com. Woo, that's a lot to keep track of this morning. Thanks to both of you for being with us. Now, Jane, I noticed right at the front of your blog, the first thing you have is a snippet of that video that was made by some firefighters, a firefighters union, in fact, that calls Rudy Giuliani a, quote, urban legend, saying that he did not do enough to prevent what ended up happening and taking the lives of so many firefighters on 9/11. What are people on your blog saying about that?
I think people really are challenging the idea that Rudy wants to put forward that he is the hero of 9/11. Clearly, if you listen to what the firefighters are saying, he could have done a lot more to protect the city. And largely his reputation is based on having given a lot of press conferences after 9/11. And I think he's going to have to do a lot more to prove that he really is the expert on international terrorism that he claims to be.
Well, I think there are certainly people that do not agree with that assessment. Robert, this is something that Rudy Giuliani, I think, expected he might have to deal with, people who have been critical of him, especially this particular firefighters union. How do you think conservatives are going to try to help Rudy counter that?
Well, I think the early reaction is this firefighters group is a partisan group known to support Democrats in the past. I think Giuliani's campaign has tried to get out in front, reaching out to bloggers, in fact, to try to set the record straight and make sure that it's seen that way. I think conservatives probably, I don't know how much weight they're going to put on this. I think they're more concerned about issues like the war in Iraq and this threat of terrorism that we have.
Let's talk about that real quick, Robert. It seems that it really is subject to interpretation today what success is, as this White House report comes out about Iraqis meeting benchmarks and whether or not we are seeing any glimmer of progress in Iraq when public opinion is turning so far the other way.
Well, I think the issue, especially in the circles that I travel in on the conservative blogs, there's definitely a willingness to stick by the Bush administration and stand with the surge. I mean, as we know, the surge has just begun, really. I mean, in June was the first time we had all the troops there. We really are just getting a progress report now. We'll get another report in September. And Democrats in Congress simply just want to run. Senator Reid, who was just on this program, made it clear that he's willing to, abandon the strategy. And we haven't given it a chance to.
Jane, do they want to run or do they want to listen to their constituents?
I think they want to reflect the will of the American people, who are overwhelmingly in favor of getting out of Iraq. The surge isn't working. Only someone like a fantasist like Joe Lieberman, as Michael Ware of CNN called him, would believe that it was. There's violence now in the green zone. The LA Times reported this week that mortars went off killing 3 people. Violence is up all around. June, I believe, was the most violent month so far. So I don't think people are buying it. The benchmarks aren't being met that we were told are going to be met. And I think that people believe that we need a plan to get out of Iraq now.
Like I said, it is subject to interpretation, though. The New York Times article today says there's been a decline in sectarian violence, but there's no doubt that many people have shifted away from believing that things are going to improve. So thanks for keeping an eye on this for us, and we'll check back in with you, Jane Hamsher, as well as Robert Bluey. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,